Hi, brother teacher here with a message admonishing you not to pay collection agencies. Am I telling you that you shouldn't pay your bills? No, I'm not. You owe it to yourself and to your family's livelihood and well-being to pay your bills and to pay them hopefully on time. Howbeit, we are in a situation, a stupor even in America and even on the planet, but I'm speaking more in respect of America, in that we have been lied to on so many fronts as it relates to commercial liability, judicial rules and regulations, and how the government actually works versus how we perceive it to work. Should I repeat that? How we perceive the government to be working and how it actually works. As it relates in this particular video to collection agencies, I'm going to give you a scenario. I'm not going to keep you long, but I'm going to give you a scenario in hopes that you will put the pieces together for yourselves. And please always do your own due diligence and go behind me and anyone else that talks like me and find these things to be evident through your own independent research. So let's say you have a company that you deal with, and let's call that your cell phone company or your phone company in general, and let's call it Bell Telephone. Most people have heard that expression, Bell Telephone, before. This is no negative reflection against any company that may be called Bell Telephone. This is only for instructional and informational and entertainment purposes, okay? So let's say that your telephone company provider is called Bell Telephone Systems. We'll just add that on there. Now, let's say you've been a member of that company or a customer of that company for several years, and all of a sudden you just decide to change providers for your phone system, and you may have owed Bell Telephone Systems $500. Let's say $500. So you haven't paid it. So a month or two pass, Bell Telephone Systems sends you a notice stating that you owe them a remaining balance of $500. You ignore that bill or that notice. 3 weeks, 4 weeks later, they send you another notice stating that you owe them $500 and your account is closed. You ignore that bill. Let's say it's now 6 months and they've sent you 4 or 5 notices that you owe them $500. They even send you an envelope that says final notice and the paperwork is pink. Final notice, and that they're going to seek, legal means to obtain, their money. All right. Now, mind you, they have also given you a few phone calls in between and referred you to their collection department, in-house collection department. So they basically gave up and stopped calling you. And of course, I know you know the story. It's going to end up on your credit report eventually as someone who's delinquent in their payments to that particular company. So about a year and a half passes. You haven't received anything from Bell Telephone Systems nor their collection department in-house, okay, their own collection department. So you get a letter in the mail and it's from, let's call it ABC Collections Agency. You never heard of them before in your life. You open the letter, it says, plain English, to what appears to be your name, and it says that please notify this office immediately on this past due amount of $500. Please refer to this reference number, 8, 10, 12 digits, and maybe some letters when you call. Okay, so you ignore that. They send you another one a couple weeks later, 3 weeks later. Same company, ABC D Collections, same information. We tried to contact you in regards to an outstanding debt that you have. And they may or may not mention the company that you had the debt with. Let's say they mentioned the company that you have the debt with, which was Bell Telephone Systems. And then they give you a reference number. The first flag that should go up is this: Bell Telephone Systems has not called you anymore. Bell Telephone Systems has not sent you any more correspondence or mail. And this company, ABCD Collections, you've never heard of before. So who are they? They are a collection agency. Now they can go under the name of International Communications or any kind of collections agency or some sort of deceptive title, if you will. Anything that they want to call themselves and still be a collection agency. But the point that I'm trying to make to you is this: ABC or ABCD Collections is not affiliated with Bell Telephone Systems at all. So this is what happened, ladies and gentlemen. Bell Telephone Systems wrote your debt off at the end of the income tax year or season. They wrote your debt off and it no longer existed. Every major company and or corporation protects itself by either having insurance or they write it off at the end of the year. It makes good sense. I hope you can see that now. So they wrote your debt off because you never responded in a reasonable amount of time, and now it's well over a year, year and a half, maybe 2 years. So they gave up on you. They don't want to keep a dead account in their current system. So they wrote it off. So what happens is this whole pool of collection agencies, they have to choose from to sell your debt. Understand the key or the operative term here: your debt. All right? They sell your debt. Even though they wrote you off of their books, they're still trying to make a little off of you. So what happens is this: the $500 that you originally owned are owed to them. They have ABCD Collections come in and they say, we'll sell you this debt for pennies on the dollar and you can do whatever you want to do with it. So let's say your bill was $500. ABCD Collection says, hey, we'll pay you $20 for so-and-so's debt. And Bell Telephone System says, okay, we're good with that. Give us the $20 so we'll give you their debt with all of their personal information, their last known address, phone number, the whole name, the whole slew. So Bell Telephone Systems has now stepped into the shadows and they no longer exist as far as you are concerned. Now it's up to ABCD Collections to secure the debt that you once owed, which you no longer owe. Because if the principal company, which was Bell Telephone Systems, has already written it off their books, you don't owe anything anymore. But they don't think you know that. So the collection agency, in this particular instance, ABCD Collections, is under the presumption that you still think you owe Bell Telephone Systems $500. But they bought your debt for $20. But guess what? They are going to try to collect the whole $500 from you by calling you on the phone, sending you harassing letters, and even harassing phone calls saying, when are you going to pay this debt? You owe this. And they're going to threaten you, seemingly threaten you, with court actions and filing lawsuits and garnishing your wages and things like this. Don't fall for the okie doke. They do not have the power to do any of the above at all, because your debt does not exist. Excuse me, you do have debt, but your bill no longer exists because it was written off. But understand this is the way the credit collection agencies work. They're buying debt and trying to profit above and beyond what they actually paid for the debt. In this particular instance, ABCD Collections only paid $20 for your debt. For them to try to collect the whole $500, let's say you paid them $500. They have just gained $480 above their principal payment that they originally gave to the phone company. They're trying to gain that much money. They want to gain the whole amount that you originally owed. Is this not deceptive? Is this not criminal? Is this not unlawful? Yes, it is unlawful. Yes, it is criminal. Yes, it is against everything that we know to be right. It's wrong, but they do it anyway. And they do it every day, all year long. That's how they exist. They buy debt from a company or corporation for pennies on the dollar, and they try to maximize their profits. This is the way it works. So let's go back. Bell Telephone Systems did not receive their $500 from you. They wrote you off at the end of the tax year. Now, they sold that debt and your information to a credit collection agency, which is a private company outside of them. They sold it for $20. That credit collections agency is going to try to get the whole $500 from you. Plain and simple. They're going to call you on the phone. They're going to send you letters. They're going to threaten you with court, income tax deduction, or what have you, all in an attempt to try to sequester this money from you. Don't fall for the okie doke, ladies and gentlemen. You don't owe anybody anything anymore. It's over. But here's the catch-22. Let's say if by chance ABCD Collections called you on your phone and you answered and they asked you, are you Bob Jones? And you answered yes. You have just opened the door for you to actually owe that debt. Should I say it again? If ABCD Collections calls you on the phone and they asked you, are you Bob Jones? And you say yes, and you are Bob Jones, the very next thing they're going to say to you is, we're calling you about a bill that you owe an amount of $500 to such and such a company. When are you going to pay this bill? That's exactly how they approach you. When are you going to pay this bill? Write the check out to us and send it to this particular address. If you don't, they're trained in the art of military science on some level to make you feel compelled to have to make a payment. Now, if they scare you on the phone and they talk you into some sort of agreement, don't forget you are being recorded by them. The fact that you said that you are who you are on the phone, they've already recorded that if they have to use it in the future. They're not supposed to record it without your consent, but they're doing it anyway. So be advised that they're doing that. They're recording you right off the bat. And if you make an agreement with them, that's being recorded as well to be used as evidence potentially in the future, even though they're criminal. All right. Now, let's say you make an agreement to make a payment. You have just basically made an oral contract over the phone. You made an agreement with them and they accept the agreement. And if you don't do your part as far as the agreement is concerned, then they have probable cause to take you to court. Sounds crazy, but that's the way it goes. Now, what is your remedy? How do you not fall into that trap? This is what you do, and listen to me very carefully. When anyone calls you on your phone, your cell phone, your telephone, and number one, they ask, is this so-and-so? You never say yes. You never say yes. You can rationalize it any way you want to rationalize it. That's number one. You never say that it is you. And then two, you ask them, who are they? You respond to their question with a question. If they say, this Bob Jones, and you say, who are you? Who is this that's calling? And then they're going to ask you again, is this Bob Jones? I asked you, who are you calling? Who are you and why are you calling here? They won't answer the question. You know why? They're trying to get you into a contract over the phone, and they won't divulge who they are, because if they did right off the bat, then they know that you'll probably hang up on them. So never tell them that it is you when someone calls you on your phone and says, is this Bob Jones? Don't answer. Say, who is this? And if they won't tell you who they are, hang up. That's number one. Number two, when someone calls you, cell phone or your landline, your house phone, and you say hello, and there's a pause, they're usually turning on a recording device. Usually if you let your phone ring 2 to 3 times and you pick it up and you say hello, someone responds right away. That's not how credit collection agencies and government agencies respond to you. When you pick up the phone and you say hello, there'll be a pause. They're turning on a recording device so that they can have evidence that they had a conversation with you, the real Bob Jones. So understand that. Now, the next thing is when they call you, don't tell them who you are and tell them to stop calling your home. Say, do not call here. You do not have my consent to call this number. And then you hang up politely. If they do it again, you repeat the same thing again and you hang up politely. Usually what will follow then, if it hasn't happened before the phone call, is that you will receive a letter from them. It's going to say ABCD collections, or it may not even say anything, and it may just have their P.O. box in the upper left hand corner of the envelope and doesn't say who they are at all. That is another trap, another trick. Once you open the envelope, then you will see that it's that same company. All right? Don't fall for that. I'm going to cover how you return letters to sender, or return the sender, in the next video. So be looking out for that. You don't have to open your mail. You don't have to respond to mail if you don't want to, especially governmental mail, especially corporate mail, whereby they are trying to extract money from you, okay? Unlawfully, I might add. So you don't open that envelope. You can return it to them. And I'll show you how to, as I said before, in the next video subsequent to this. So that's 2 things I pointed out. And the other thing too is this. If they send you something in the mail and it does identify that it is them, you can send them a letter back and also asking them to cease and desist, and they must do that by law. They can't call you before 8 o'clock in the morning. They can't call you after 8 o'clock at night. This is the law. And they can't threaten you with jail. They cannot threaten you with taking you to court. They cannot threaten you by saying that they're calling your family and your job and getting information from you, because all of that is unlawful, not lawful. Okay? They can't do that. They can't do anything to you except what you allow them to do. Now, the only way you can allow them to have any kind of power over you, again, is if you accept their contract. And that's what it is over the phone, a verbal contract. Once you make an agreement with them on the phone, you basically have just said, I owe $500, when in fact you really never did. Okay? Now, as far as owing the $500, if you pay them any portion of money, if you send them $5 or $10, you actually owe the $500 now. That's true. You have just created a contract between you and them. So let me say this. They don't belong in your lives at all. They are just illegitimate companies that prey off of ignorant individuals, people who are uneducated as to what the law really is. You don't owe a debt that's been written off, but will they tell you that a debt has been written off that you once owed? No, they won't. They will not tell you that. These people are leeches. They are parasites. They prey on hardworking Americans, poor working and middle class Americans, trying to extract your money from you any way that they can. And once you buy into that, you actually do owe that debt. But this might be rhetorical. This might be redundant. I'm going to go back one more time and see if I can just summarize this. If it's too much, I'm sorry. Just leave it in the comment sections, and I'm apologizing in advance. Okay. When you receive any letter, any phone call from a debt collections agency, don't answer it. Tell them to stop calling you, to stop writing you. And if they send something to you in mail, by way of mail, you send it back to them. Okay? That's what you do. You don't owe that debt anymore. Now, in most states, all states actually, we have what is called a statute of limitations. Where I live, it's 7 years. So let's say Bell Telephone Systems has been sending out information to Bob Jones, I believe the fictitious person in this video was. Let's say they've been sending out mail to him for over 7 years, trying to get this bill paid. And it's past 7 years. And he lives where I live, and the statute of limitations is 7 years. Bob Jones, by default, does not owe anything anymore. But be mindful of this, ladies and gentlemen. Even if it's beyond your statute of limitations and you don't owe a bill anymore, it doesn't mean that some credit department won't send you a notice saying that you do. That means you have to be on top of your own personal business. Pay attention, keep good, copious records so that you know where you stand. Have the dates on everything that you are involved in as far as your bills are concerned, so that you'll know if you're past that threshold as far as the statute of limitation goes, and you don't have to be concerned with that. If you're past the 7 years or the 8 years or the 9 years statute of limitations, depending on where you live, in what state, then you're good. Don't respond to these individuals in a way that seems as though you're going to pay. Because if you respond in any kind of way, what happens is that you start your bill all over again. Let me say that again. If you go beyond the statute of limitations and some creditor that you used to owe sends you a letter saying that you owe $500, $600, $1,000, $2,000, whatever it is, and you respond to that by sending them any type of payment, your whole bill starts all over again, and the statute of limitations that once covered you no longer exists. So you have to wait another 7 years or 8 or 9 years before you're eligible again to be declassified as a debtor to that particular company or corporation. I hope I made this pretty simple for you to understand. Don't fall for the okie doke, as I say, because it's all fictitious, and it's going to save you a whole lot of headache in the long run. And if you have any questions concerning this subject matter of debt collectors, please leave your comment in the comment section below. I think this was concise enough, and I think it speaks directly to what most people's issues are. You know, I owe $600 to this particular company or the utility company, and I haven't been with them for 8 years and so forth, and I keep getting this harassing mail in my box and so forth. What should I do? And so you feel obligated, and you go in your pocket and you break your kids' piggy banks open, and you try to appease these people, and then you end up with this debt again, all over again. Okay? Now, am I advocating not paying bills as I forestated? No, I'm not. Pay your bills according to your ability, but if peradventure you find yourself in this type of situation, go back and watch this video again, all right? Or call me, leave me a message, and I'll respond to you. This is Brother Teacher. I'll see you in the next video. So long.